Hello and welcome to Chapter 5 of Genius. Albert has gotten himself into some crazy situations, but he's also had some brilliant and beautiful thoughts this week, so we're excited to talk about it. And we have a special guest, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello and welcome to Chapter 5 of Genius. Things have just become more precarious and dramatic and also exciting. I'm your host, Joelle Monique, and let the beautiful panel introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Louiza Sharamatyan. You can find me on Instagram at Nobody Reads Anymore and on Twitter at Nobody Reads.
Hey everybody, I'm Elysabeth Alfano, and you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at DinnerPartyCHGO.
How you doing, guys? My name is Zach Silverman, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Zach with a CH Silverman 2, and I'm also on the live chat, so come in and talk to us.
Chat us up, people.
Chat us up.
Yeah.
Let's do
Absolutely.
this.
It has been a busy episode. I want to say week, but time is relative, and we're not. And we covered 22 years in here, so
23 years.
so it's been nutty. I want to get your guys' highlights. What were your favorite parts of this episode?
When Einstein and Elsa finally contact with eyes, I just feel like that's true love right there.
Oh my gosh, I felt the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the passion. It
Finally.
didn't come for me.
They got introduced.
I thought their meeting was so deadpan.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Oh, I didn't feel it.
You know what
No,
I
I
saw?
felt it.
I saw the complete. I saw what Einstein had the opposite of. I mean, initially he didn't want the wife. You know, just the
Right.
average wife, and now he's seeing the other side of life with Mileva, domesticated,
Yes.
and he's like, oh man, maybe this life is the better life.
Yeah, when
Yes.
they're walking down that hill and he's like, but you're such a good conversationalist,
Yeah.
and and you're like a great cook. I'm like, these are all the things you said you didn't care
about, right.
You
You
lied.
lied.
Well, and in a way, he's
Yeah,
very
he
traditional because he also, when
Well, it's with the
Monsieur
times,
Curie
you know?
says he will not take the Nobel Prize without his wife being credited.
Sure does.
Albert doesn't really credit her. He just says everybody kind of knows it, so he just sweeps it under the rug.
I feel like this is definitely one of those things where Albert is being honest when he says people are the biggest mystery to me, and things that might
a
seem
great
simple
quote.
to us to understand, where it's like, well, maybe if you just shared a little bit of credit, you know, for him, I think. But women have always taken care of me.
Yes.
And is this not what she does? Is this what's different here? I like this moment too. How did we feel about his lecturing? Like, he had a lot of theories this week, and also we see a lot of
Yeah.
early
Yes.
lecturing, which is much different than the very first episode where he is just like, it is old hat to him. And then so seeing the origins, I really enjoyed that.
He was very, I think, embarrassed and shy at first. Are you talking about the first scene?
Yeah,
or
his first
after?
lecture. He was.
Okay.
He.
They were walking out on him.
Well, he took the class
one-
outside. He's like, I'm bad at lecturing, but I'm a great talker. So let's go outside and just,
I love that concept.
Yeah.
I think
Discover
this is where
everything.
Steve Jobs, because he has
Yeah.
that same thing. He's like, you know what? Let's go for a walk. We'll talk. And all of his meetings were walking.
Really?
Walking
I
and
didn't know
talking.
that.
Most of his meetings
Oh.
were walking and talking. And I think that's where Steve Jobs pulled it from Albert. And I think that's awesome. That was a cool little scene.
Yeah.
He's like talking, and his
Yeah.
class went from like 4 people to like, there's like 10 people now.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Right?
of questions.
Yeah.
Ask me about anything.
And
there's
nature influences physics.
Yeah.
So
It
it's
does
just
so
such a
much.
natural tie. And he's so
Yeah.
curious about life in general. So.
I wrote down a quote. Actually, it wasn't from
Awesome.
the actual show. Albert Einstein's own quote: "The greatest scientists are artists as well."
Yes.
I think that's awesome
great
because
one.
like you can't take in influences. You can't be this artist without perceiving the world around you. And if you're stuck in this lab the entire time, what are you gonna do?
Of
You know,
course.
how are you gonna ask those influential questions? So
Elizabeth, what was your favorite moment of the episode?
Well, what I liked the most, and I know we've said this throughout the whole series, but so we have this genius on our hands, and he's just whipping off papers left and right. It's like nothing for him. You know, in 50 minutes, he's got general relativity and special relativity, and so he's just got molecules. I mean, he's got more concepts than he can hold on to. But I love how it shows that he's so human. So like most people, 7-10 years into marriage, a child or two, and you start to realize this is so much work, and it's not making me happy. So what do I do? My commitments to my children, my commitments to my wife, where do I go? I'm torn. And so we see him struggle with the basics that we all struggle with. So he's this genius on one side, and then he's just got to deal with life like the rest of us. So I really like those touching moments when it makes us see how human he is.
He was so afraid of hurting Mileva.
Yeah.
So he was stuck in between his thoughts. He didn't know how to focus on work, then go home and just experience that
At least
trauma.
he was trying to be a good man.
Yes.
He was trying to,
With his children too, I think he was.
He was at least human in that sense, because he was such a scatterbrained person where he doesn't really know what to say, what to do, how to act in the situation. At least he had the gumption to know, like, I have to take care of my kids still. If I leave Mileva, it will ruin my family and my kids.
What I really value about these scenes is how it portrays being in an emotional relationship with somebody with depression. It's incredibly challenging.
I didn't realize. Yeah, Mileva, like
Postpartum?
what she, well, I don't know if
modern day
it's
postpartum depression, maybe.
It might be postpartum, but we do get her mother saying early on, you've always had your, depressions, and she says, I was going through my own bout of melancholy. It seems like it's something that's plagued her entire existence.
And I've always seen previous episodes, and I'm like, where is this nut job coming from? What is this, like, the turn on a dime thing? And it makes sense more. We see Edward, her second son, and how it kind of goes down through the genes and stuff. I think there's something in their family.
Yes, although I think there must be some strain of guilt with Albert, because in the beginning, I think it was episode 2 or 3, she says, Albert, this is Samantha Colley, Mileva Marovich, who says, you're driving me crazy. Albert, you are taking me to the brink, because he says he's going to be faithful, and then he's not, and then he takes it so lightheartedly, and, poor Mileva, she has all these dreams. She herself is a renowned physicist, and watching those slip through her fingers while she irons, I think is maddening.
A very layered performance from Colley, because she is dealing with a lot of things, and that's what I think what I'm really enjoying about the show is it doesn't pin it on anything. Like, genuinely, no one is to blame. Like, Albert could have been a better husband and taken more time and paid more attention to Mileva, but he struggled with that.
But he's also just being a man of the times.
Well, sure, but and Mileva could do more studying. Like, if she could get herself organized. Like, I know a lot of moms who do a whole bunch, and it's an exhausting work, but they find time for their hobbies and for the things they care about. But she's pinned everything on Albert. So it's a lot of people making a lot of choices that don't end up to anyone being happy, which is why, like, when we get into Curie and she starts pointing those things out, she's like, we don't have to live in conventional times.
We don't. But we see the opposite end of those things as well, where, like, we finally get to see Mileva and her, like, her heroine face to face, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so jealous of you. I wish I had the life that you had. How did you and your husband make it? And she's like,
we
what?
didn't. She's like, my kids hate me.
Kids hate me.
I had no time to
This
spend with my
is
kids.
one side of what could have happened.
You can't have
you
it all.
This side. They're both jealous of each other, and it's just like,
and that one
the grass is always greener on the other side.
Absolutely.
But I love how she makes this great French statement, marriages aren't meant to last, I mean, Marie Curie, I find her so French.
Well, she
it's
said
wonderful.
that main quote to Einstein. She said, you and I don't accept the rules and conventions of science, so why must we accept traditional marriage? It's okay to remarry if you find someone else. And actually, that's the part when she opened up about her affair. Not to go too forward about the scene.
I'm sorry, maybe I was a little confused. Was there an affair, or I thought they said her husband died?
So her husband died, but there was rumors in town that she was having an affair with a married man. But Einstein, being so intelligent,
I didn't recognize that he was married either.
He's married.
Okay, so
yeah.
I thought I was like, so
and
what? Her husband died.
So
like, she's allowed to kind of
She wasn't embarrassed by it.
Yeah, so Einstein, being so intelligent, went up to her and said, I've heard rumors, but it's about you getting another Nobel Prize.
That
so he didn't even bring it up.
That's the romantic in him.
And towards the end, she opens up
that.
to him and says, it's love, and I don't regret it.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that was a very quick rundown of the show, but it's only because we have the most amazing guest for you. I'm going to kick it to Elizabeth to do the introduction.
So we are thrilled, coming to us live from London. We know her from things like The Crucible and Victoria, but really it's for her incredible performance, drop-dead, knockdown performance as Mileva Marovich. Samantha Colley, welcome. Thanks for Skyping us from London.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I want to talk to you. First, I'm going to introduce the panel, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. We'll all dive right in. So here we have Joelle, and this is Louisa, and this is Zach, and I'm Elizabeth.
I can't actually see anyone.
You can.
That's the design.
That's okay. Then we're just a group of voices to you. So I want to know, your character is so incredibly demanding because she has these incredible highs and these incredible lows. So the emotional range is quite stark. And then you have a physical ailment, and you have a Serbian accent. So I wanted to know how you prepared for this role, which is quite challenging.
Really, I was really, really focused on doing her justice. Mileva Marovich, I didn't know she existed when I was asked to audition for the part. And then when I researched her, I was kind of aghast that I didn't know. And she's this woman that was kind of chewed up and spat out by history. And the main thing for me, irrespective of the, her physical ailment and the accent and looking more like her, it was just doing it all well and doing it all in a way that is respectful to her and doing her justice, and having the world meet and get to know a woman that they don't. And I really hope that I did that okay. But yeah, the Serbian accent, I relied on Dale Wyatt, our accent coach, very heavily. She became a bit of a safety blanket for me and kept me on the straight and narrow. And her physical limp was in large part, a lot of experimentation and a boot, which was much bigger than one of the others. And but I wanted to do that in a way that wasn't kind of mocking her almost. It was
talking about her character, Samantha, I read that you did some research about her role and came across real authentic letters between Einstein and Mileva. How was that, and what did the letters say, I have to ask?
Yeah, I mean, I came across letters between Albert and Mileva, but also Mileva and her best friend, Helena Savic, and they were a gold mine, an absolute gold mine. And I was really surprised that the early letters between Albert and Mileva were quite saucy and quite naughty and quite. I was reading it thinking, I'm attracted to Einstein. I get
he's a ladies' man. So sexy, yes, in that way.
Yeah. It was very witty and funny, and I loved that Mileva kept him on his toes and was very sharp back with him. And it was, reading it, you couldn't help but see they were just these two very passionate young people in love, and it was a meeting of the minds. And very, very sad the way it ends, but in the letters, especially the early ones, are just a wonderful read. And as I say, I encourage anyone who's interested to find the letters and to read them, because they're really quite lovely.
I will do just that.
I wanted to ask you about the costuming for the show. Mileva is in these beautiful costumes, but also typically I find they feel very confining, or they look like they're very confining, and that kind of correlates with her character, is she's constantly being suffocated and stuffed into corners and places where she doesn't want to be. Did you have any say over costuming, and how did costuming influence your performance?
I love the costume. I mean, it's funny that you say that, actually, that a lot of it was constricting and confined into corners, because I actually found the opposite. To me, it felt like an armor, that she was making this decision to be quite masculine in a masculine world. These bows, the very large bows, and I felt like people could mess with me less when I was dressed as Mileva.
Wow.
And it was, I felt it was a choice on her part to not be invisible, to not be palatable, to not be feminine, to not be pretty and girly, but she was saying, I'm here, look at me, and take me seriously. And I loved that. I mean, every morning when I'd get dressed and it felt like I was kind of going into battle a bit. Costume is one of the great joys of the work, and it's it was brilliant.
You can see the passion for the character you have written all over your face.
Yes, it's so true. And I wanted to riff off of that. Many of your scenes are so emotionally challenging, as I mentioned before. I wondered how that is on you, because you probably do 3, 4, 5 takes. And so
more than that. I mean, sometimes, especially with that, I think there's a scene where I lob a teapot and I'm crying, and I did that quite a few times. But I think I love it because I feel most connected to her in those moments. And I remember my voice getting quite hoarse at the end, and but it was just interestingly, it doesn't fatigue you in a way that you'd think, because if you think about yourself when you're crying and you're really feeling it, you don't stop in the middle and go, oh, I need to catch my breath. You're really in it. And those scenes, like we had a wonderful camera operator called Ryan, and I remember he was really in it, and Johnny was really in it, and I was really in it. And so it's not it's not exhausting. It's just you feel like you're flying, and you feel like you're really alive, and someone else is kind of coursing through you. It's something quite hard to explain.
It's exhilarating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as the chemistry with Johnny Flynn, how important was that to be made before actually playing his wife?
Because he's also quite sexy. I have to say, he's just the cutest little thing on the planet.
Were you worried that you wouldn't hit it off at first? How was that experience?
Yeah, I think there's always that thing of when you know you're going to be working quite closely with someone else, you always worry that they're going to be nice and not a nasty piece of work. And I was just, when I met Johnny, I instantly felt relieved because he's honestly one of the loveliest guys you'll ever meet, and one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. And he was just so generous, and we instantly, I think, understood each other as actors. I think he knew that Mileva was really important to me, and it was really important for me to do her justice. And I immediately recognized in him that Albert was very important to him, and I think there was a sense of play instantly, and a respect between us. And he's wonderful to act opposite, and it was brilliant.
It was
once I knew he was. Sorry?
Yeah. It was shining through the screen. It was beautiful.
Yes, it's palpable.
Yeah, we see it. Yeah.
So we have a live chat going on, and we actually have a member who has a question for you, Samantha, if you wouldn't mind. Brian asks, what was it like playing someone who has been treated so underrated in the world of science? Mileva, sadly, has been seen basically as Einstein's ex-wife and baby mama. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, again, one of the things that really annoys me is on her Wikipedia, that one of the main things is that she's Einstein's wife, and actually she's so much more than that. And that's what I hope that this series does, and I think it's a real triumph of the series, which I'm very grateful for, is that they gave time and scope to show Mileva's story and her potential and what she was kind of robbed of, really, and not just through Albert, but also the time that she lived in, and the hoops that she had to jump through, also the very real female choices that I still have to think about in 2017 that haven't gone away and are still very prevalent. But again, it goes back to, I think my first answer is that it was just really important to me to really show that in its truth, to show that very, as I say, female trajectory, and to show how hard it is, and that it's not fair that she wasn't credited. And that still goes on today, and there are certain worlds that are very impenetrable for women, and it was important to me. And
I could see that you made some very strong choices in what you did in your acting. It was phenomenal. I'm stunned by how many performances you give every time.
Yeah,
you're one of my favorite characters, I'd have to say.
Oh wow, thank you so much. That's so lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I do agree.
Incredible.
I think the breakdowns that Mileva has in many ways leaves a lasting imprint on the entire series. I mean, she's such an incredible character played by you. How much did the directors influence your portrayal, or did they let you do it on your own and study ahead and then you just let it rip?
It's a bit of both, really. I mean, the directors we've had were amazing, absolutely amazing, and I think that was why it was such a wonderful experience, because it was very collaborative, and also they let me have my own opinion, and they were just wonderful about me saying, oh my God, I read this in the letter, and I think she's doing this at this moment, and I think she's feeling this, and could I have a crack at that? And then it was when you're being directed by some of the directors that we had, Ron Howard and all of the other amazing directors, you just feel so lucky that you're there's this dialogue talking about, as I say, a female character, and they're giving time and space and energy and thought to what she was going through, and giving time for the audience to kind of really key into a female narrative, which is quite rare and very special.
Absolutely.
So,
when you're done playing Mileva, when Genius is all done, we don't know how many seasons it's going to have yet, but when it's all done, what do you think you're going to walk away with after playing Mileva?
Yeah, I already miss her. That's why I think I'm probably being a bit overly, because I love talking about her. I think what I take away is, I think hopefully I kind of stand my ground a bit more as a woman, and I think I have less time for people making things more difficult for me because of my gender, or I have less time for people thinking that I'm not capable of what a man is capable of. And I don't say that in a kind of in a way that's kind of male bashing or anything like that, because I really don't think that that's what it is. It's just I think Mileva's given me an inner strength that that you can just quietly take your space, and it's okay to do that, and it's okay to kind of shout when you're being messed with.
So I guess we have so much about Mileva in the show. We see so much about her, and you've done such a great job of really shedding light on who Einstein's love was. Kind of want to get into you. What is a perfect Sunday for you?
Wow, great question.
Perfect Sunday. Well, it would involve my dog.
Okay.
Yay! What kind of dog?
We love dogs.
I've got quite a few. I have a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel called Lady, quite in the cliche, like Lady in the Tramp. But she is the absolute love of my life. And a perfect Sunday would be taking her on a cliff walk in Devon, where I'm from. Sun shining, taking it easy. Good film. I'm pretty easy to please, really.
Sounds wonderful.
So in the past, you're known for playing period pieces, like you've in Victoria. So now this is Einstein, another big historical piece. In the future, do you want to play any modern characters?
Yeah, and I'd love to act in my own accent as well, because I haven't.
That's a beautiful accent. Yeah, I was so taken back when hearing it.
I've never, as I say, I started my first job. I did a Yorkshire accent, and then, as I say, I've done Serbian and other bits and bobs, but never my own. Yeah, and I'd love to do something modern, and I really would like to, actually.
So I have a quick question.
I'm just tallying it up. I haven't done anything modern. Yeah, I've only ever done.
Time to change it up a bit, I think, right?
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, I've done modern plays, but not TV.
Okay.
So speaking of the things that you've done in the past that have been more historical, they've also been sort of niche, if you will, niche market things. And so when you found out that you did get this part and you'd be working with the likes of Ron Howard, what was that like for you?
Oh, it's really uncool, but I cried on the phone.
I would have too.
When my agent called me, I was very uncool, and I burst into, and not delicate weeping, like proper snotty, like really.
A mild wail.
yeah. But it's as elegant as possible, but you're still pretty full on. I was just, and I think I was right to react like that, because it was such a wonderful experience from start to finish. Every single person I came into contact with on Genius just touched me in a way that I think I'm going to carry with me forever. It was I can't fully articulate what a special experience it was, and as I say, not just breathing life back into a woman that I feel was very wronged, as I said, by history and how things turned out, but also and the real joy of getting to play a part that is so meaty and is so just such a joy to explore every day. But it was the people as well, like getting directed by pinch me directors, literally, but also and the other actors and everyone in makeup and costume, and I got sick in Prague on 2 days before my last shoot, and I never forget this. One of the drivers took me to hospital, and he was just this lovely human being, and I was in a foreign country by myself, like freaking out. No one could understand me in the hospital, and
wow.
This guy is with me, like stroking my back, saying, are you okay? And like that's just that's a wonderful experience of just meeting wonderful, lovely people. And it was just a dream, an absolute dream. So I was right to kind of burst into tears and snot all over my mobile phone. And my
You burst into a lot of really intense emotions on the show. Mileva's kind of a heavy character. What did you guys do to relax? I mean, you're always on the road during taping because you guys tape this globally. It's incredible. What did you guys do to relax?
I think I mooched around Prague a lot. There's a place called the Bake Shop where I went and ate a lot of chocolate things. And yeah, I ate a lot. Drank a bit of wine, which I shouldn't have. And yeah, and we all just kind of, I think the thing about it is we were all very immersed in it. And we popped home now and again, but it really did feel like this real family that was out there. And yeah, we kind of, the thing is, when I think back about it, I just think about laughing a lot. I mean, I think everyone said to me, oh my God, you're crying all the time. And wow, that's a bit full on and intense, but it was just really fun. And it was just really fun.
It sounds so dreamy and special, like a little bubble, like a perfect bubble world.
Yeah.
It was really. Because I started out when I first went to Prague, it was blistering sunshine, and so when I put on those bows and the corsets and you kind of think, and then I ended in deep snow, beautiful, amazing, thick, fluffy snow, and it feels a bit like a snow globe when I think about it. It's just this perfect little thing, and it was great.
Well, I know we've all been sort of bubbling about you, but really when we're not talking to you live, it's true that every show we say like, oh my God, can you imagine that performance from Samantha? That was so incredibly strong. And so we're fans, and I hope that you'll come back at another time because this has really been a delight
It's been a
and a
pleasure.
treat.
It's such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that. That means the world to me. I'm so happy that people just think that my Mileva's okay, and that that was the main thing that I just wanted. I wanted to do right by her and have people kind of think that Mileva was an amazing woman, because that's another thing about the letters. She regularly wrote that she didn't think she was lovable and she didn't think that she deserved love.
Yeah, you definitely did her
So
justice.
heartbreaking.
You did her justice because it's given the performances that you give, it's very easy for someone to look at it and be like, oh, I don't care for this person, I hate like that actress, like whatever, she's just like boohoo, whatever. But you do an amazing performance, and honestly, you teeter the line of really feeling for the character or just like not caring at all, and you do a perfect performance of it. So
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
That's, I mean, as I say, it means the world for people to think that, to love Mileva. I feel that the job is
well done.
Like you said, if one person Googles her to find out who she is, then you've done your job. So.
yeah, there you go.
Exactly. And I feel happy that I kind of done some work in righting the wrong that she experienced, and it's a joy to hear.
Well, we're
Absolute
keeping
joy.
our fingers crossed for award season for you.
Yes.
Because
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's well
We are,
deserved.
yeah.
Before we let you go, though, I wanted to ask, where can people find you next? What do you have upcoming?
Nothing I can talk about.
But you do have good things coming, I hope.
But hopefully, I have fingers crossed as well that there will be something
I'm sure
next.
there will
I'm
be.
still kind of trying to keep in my snow globe of Mileva for as long as possible. But yeah, hopefully there's something next. Hopefully.
Well, can we find you on social media so we can follow you and see what you're up to?
Yes, I'm on Twitter, which is just my last name, Colley Sam.
Okay.
And then I'm on Instagram. I've got
I
into
tagged you.
Instagram.
I know it's you.
Dear diary,
It's
like I
all
snap. I'm like, I'll remember it. So yeah, I think I've gone down the rabbit hole of Instagram as well, which is my full name, Samantha Colley, all one word.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Wonderful. So we'll be sure to follow you and see what you have going on, because we'd love to see more from you and then have you
Thank
back.
you.
So
Yeah.
Thanks so much. That's lovely talking to you. Thank you very
wonderful.
much.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Samantha.
much.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye. Night. Oh, good afternoon.
Oh, man. So that was
Bye-bye.
So wonderful.
So great to have her. Oh my gosh.
absolutely. So that's Samantha Colley joining us all the way from England?
London.
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 My
What a gem.
goodness.
So personable.
Oh my gosh. So charming.
Yeah, I love that
Gorgeous.
accent.
Yeah.
Very different.
Stunning.
I'll
Yeah.
be shocked if she's not cast in a bunch of things
Oh,
immediately.
Yes, because
Seriously,
of this.
yeah.
Right.
This is it.
Yes.
She said she couldn't talk about it. I'm going to be
love
stalking her
it.
IMDb
And like you
page.
said,
I'm
Yeah.
completely gonna
award
stalk her.
season?
I want her to
Please.
get an award. She's so well
Something.
deserved.
Oh,
If she's
yeah.
not at least nominated for like a Golden Globe or an Emmy, I
wow.
will throw things.
Things will burn.
Rude.
Yes. I
Such an
agree.
important
Such a
character.
different side of you, Joelle. For things.
I've
Oh,
reached.
jeez.
Seriously, as she should.
Hey, well,
gosh.
we're just talking about Mileva getting overshadowed. I don't want Samantha to
I
be
would hate
overshadowed
that.
because that
Absolutely.
Oh, no.
her
Yeah.
performances, all of them, have been outstanding.
Absolutely. We've got just a few more minutes. I wanted to talk about one of my favorite characters in this episode, Dr. Jung, who was fun and lively and intelligent,
Father
and also
figure.
kind of quirky, and that's like all my favorite things
And
in
sweet.
one.
He was
Oh,
sort
my.
of had a sweetness to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always imagine Carl Jung to be something a little bit of a like just the pipe smoking guy, like so tell me your feelings, and not really care too much. But yeah, he was.
And he
This
influenced
show,
Einstein.
listen, this show just gives like great humanistic qualities to all these characters and to
These
like
giants,
really,
yeah.
these giants who you
Right.
just like you idolize them and you're like, oh, Einstein, the smartest man in the world, and you're like, but no, but he's really human who has flaws and all these problems and issues that he's gone through. And same with I mean, we didn't get too much of Carl Jung, but
Well, and I love that we get these historical references, so it just helps you keep
Oh, where we're
time
at,
together,
yeah.
where we are
Kafka
historically.
came into it real
Kafka
quick.
comes in for a drink,
Yeah.
and you know,
was
Carl
pretty
Jung
cool.
is around. Yeah, it's very
Well,
fun.
love it.
Carl Jung actually helped Einstein get over his stage fright, kind of. He said,
Yeah.
you have to conquer your fear. And then they
Ooh,
show
yes.
Einstein walking to the conference room like he's owning it, like, I'm going to do this.
Well, and then we have that wonderful scene where he talks about the specialty of the number 4,
Yes.
which I
The
adored
influence,
this
my
moment.
favorite
For
scene.
psyches, for compass.
For elements,
Yeah, all that
for
stuff.
poles of the
for
compass.
nature, the
Yeah.
compass, and
And
nature, and
now
the seasons.
Maybe
yes.
there's 4 dimensions
Yeah.
instead of 3.
Yes.
To which, of course, Einstein has this beautiful aha moment that leads to the spider on the record.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Zach.
it's great how they didn't say what the 4th dimension was.
Yes.
You guys don't know what it is?
Well, you know the 4th dimension.
time.
I've seen calculations of
4th
it.
dimension is time.
It's just time.
It's just time.
It's
But
just
what
Zach
about
says it,
like
then it's time.
the box that is it
Yeah,
constantly
well,
folding
yeah.
in on itself and
Yes.
then outside of itself?
Yeah, so
Is that just a physical representation of
yeah,
time?
so you have the Earth, and the Earth is spinning, and your relative speed is what we feel, and then but the Earth itself is also going around the sun, and then the sun itself is going around in the universe. We don't feel that speed itself, but it's all relative within the time of
Yep.
the other dimensions.
What he said, that makes so much sense.
Zach. Sure.
Love it.
It's very confusing. It's hard for me to grasp a lot of it, but yeah, it's time as the 4th dimension, so.
Yeah,
kinda cool.
I like this scene because I feel like quirky people who don't necessarily need to be able to fully explain themselves are my favorite. And Dr. Jung certainly embodies that. And we see that again when he's talking to Edward in the hospital. And Edward's like, Freud is the only one who can understand me.
yeah.
It reminded me of like, I was young in the 90s and my older cousins that I looked up to when Kurt Cobain died, they were like, no one's going to get it like Kurt. Like, it's over now. And I felt he felt the same way about Freud. He's like, the father issues, he gets me and he understands me. And Edward does this amazing flip of like, he was like a father to me too. Carl
Jung does. not
Yes,
Edward,
yes.
sorry.
Excuse me. Yes,
Yeah.
Jung does. And it felt maybe like a partial truth. I don't know the history on this.
Yeah, no, I think he worked under him for a little bit, Freud, and then they went separate ways because Freud had his theories of like the mother, the father, the id, and all that stuff, and Jung was just like, no, it's this way.
Yeah, they
Interesting.
fell off.
Yeah.
Because the story felt like it was created for Edward in the scene, just in watching the scene. It felt like it was created for Edward to have this mental breakthrough of like, have you thought about this fully? Do you really understand the whole situation, or are you just remembering it from when you were 2? That can be challenging. But for it to be real too, do we know if Dr. Jung continues to counsel Edward?
I'm not sure.
I don't
I think
think
he
so, 'cause-
steps
Find out,
away
maybe.
because he says he's too close.
Yeah.
Because he's
Yeah.
close to Albert, and so
Mm-hmm.
he feels that the ties are too, perhaps.
Which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I just loved watching these two. I loved the psychoanalysis. And then I
I
felt
didn't realize how smart Edward was also, because I
Right?
kind of figured, like Albert is just like genius, and it doesn't happen so often, and maybe his kids will be a little smart, but I guess both of them are kind of. The older son, what is it? The older son plays music. you
Albie,
said?
yeah.
Albie's like a beautiful musician, and then Edward himself is like this he understands the psyche. He's read up on it, and it comes natural.
But he hates his father, and that's really hard to watch.
But he only hates his father because of what he perceived what his mother.
And towards the end, he's like, I want to see my father.
Yes,
again.
but he also has all this anger, beyond that one event where he thinks his father started a fire because he wasn't paying attention to the children and smoking his pipe, and he thought he just was paying attention to himself and his studies. And we find out that that's not true. But he's also just angry about his entire childhood, that his father only cares about himself, and that was hard to see because we see Albert as such a sweet father, always picking up the kids and saying, Mileva, I'll take them, and you have a break, and playing with the train.
He wasn't around though.
We're now seeing why the divorce happened. I think because Mileva was spinning her own web of things. She said it herself. She's like, I didn't want you to be hurt by your father, so I protected you by lying.
Right.
And
What's interesting is how far apart they seem to be in that, because Mileva's like, I just didn't want you to hero worship him, which is natural, because I think for a minute Mileva was hero worshiping Albert, and it got her into a place where she thought she could only live if he gave her permission. The reverse of that is you did so much damage that he doesn't have a relationship with his father, which is heartbreaking. And then on top of that, the parent you did trust was lying to you this whole time. So I got a whole other batch of issues you got to deal with.
He's got in psychology, psychiatric care. I mean, that'll screw anyone over.
Yeah. So I hope we get some more of Edward, because his character was fascinating, especially because they leave us with that nice little cliffhanger at the end of like, I want to see Dad, and I'm like, I want you to be with Dad, because that probably means Jeffrey Rex should coming back. Yay!
Do you think that is when we go back to the first episode and the phone keeps ringing and we think it's Mileva?
Oh,
that's what I was thinking. That we're gonna circle back.
I can't remember though if that was what the date was in that first one. Was it in the 40s? Because I think the date that we just saw was 32.
It was much older. It was much later because he was like immigrating to the U.S. So it was.
He wasn't immigrating to the U.S. though, was he? Because the war hadn't quite started yet.
Yeah, the war hadn't started yet.
I thought it was.
There's two different flashes in that episode where it was like before the war and after, and like right when the war like was kind of coming to an end.
So 32 feels close to accurate, but I'll have to go back and watch it to be 100% sure. But yeah, we have a very brief amount of time. Do you guys have any predictions for next week? Anything else we'll talk about?
I don't know, but Elsa is making such a huge statement, I think, in his life right now. And the rose.
I'm skeptical.
Towards the end, the rose. Did you see
hat, yes. He kept that.
I'm going home. I'm going back home, and I'm going to marry Elsa. And I think for me, I just want to see how that relationship unfolds.
I just want to see how he ends it with Mileva.
That's what I really want to see.
I'm so nervous.
Going to get out of that. It's just not going to go well for her. That's my prediction. And
she's already so broken and fragile, and he says it, and he knows what's going to... I think maybe he's going to hide it for a little while.
See, that's typical Albert that we already know. It's like, I'll just put it off for as long as humanly possible.
PIMP.
And we already showed them in the future where he's still struggling to understand, like, I can love more than one person at a time. So
and he's still putting Mileva off. He won't answer the phone.
Yeah.
So...
I think that we're going to get a messy breakup, and it's going to hurt, because as we all stated, we love Mileva. She's one of our favorite characters, and she's a lot of fun. But thank you once again to our guest, Samantha Colley, for coming in and talking to us. What a beautiful human being. Amazing person. And
the one to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Until next week, Zach, where can the audience find you?
You can all find me on Instagram and Twitter at Zach with the CH Silverman2, and also visit my website, thezachsilverman.com.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DinnerPartyCHGO. My name's Elysabeth Alfano, and hit up my website. My interviews with Jeremy Piven and Kevin Spacey are now edited and up, so you can find those at thedinnerparty.tv. Yay!
Hi all, you can find me on Instagram at Nobody Reads Anymore, and on Twitter at Nobody Reads, and at my YouTube channel called Nobody Reads Anymore. I have my latest book review on the Everything Store, which is about Amazon and Jeff Bezos, so check it out.
I'm so proud of you guys. You do a lot.
You do a lot.
You do a lot.
Here we go. I'm Joelle Monique. You can find me all over the internet at Joelle Monique, every week at blackgirlnerds.com, every Wednesday at Schmoes Know. My interview with W. Kamau Bell is live finally on the Black Girl Nerds podcast, so you can check that out. Also, check out Screen Junkies. I'll be there shortly. We're still picking a date, but I'm excited to do the Screen Junkies news with those guys. You know, actually, that's all I have right now. That's it. Like I said, that's it.
Stay tuned then.
Wow.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
See you there, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.